Alright, now that I've gotten done polishing the crankshaft, we now have it sitting back in the block. We're going to put the caps on and run some plastic gauge on all 5 of these things and see where we're at with our tolerances. It had standard bearings in it. They might kind of close, so I was going to snug it up just a hair. Hopefully we should be good with the .001 undersized bearings. And I had to go through and clean all the caps. I've already got ARP lube up underneath the heads, and the plastic gauge is offset 1/4 as per the directions from the original workshop manual. So we'll scope it out here and we'll see what we've got. I do want to make note though, as I was digging these bearings out, I did go with the least expensive ones that I could find, which may come back and bite me in the butt. The brand is Engine Tech, and there's a part number. The bearings look really nice, but I think you can pick it up here. Cleaned them off because they had a little bit of residue on there, I'm sure, from storage. You can see little tiny flakes of material. I think was just part of the processing left over, and that is why you want to clean your bearings before you stick them in, because you sure wouldn't want that stuff getting in your brand new bearings when it's starting up and giving it a reason to fail. You know, whether or not that material would do anything, I don't know, but you sure don't want to chance it. So, good thing to do: clean your bearings before you put them in your caps and in your block. And then used Scotch-Brite again to clean up the surfaces, to clean up where the bearing goes, and then to clean up a little bit on each side, just to make sure we've got as much stuff off of it that is not going to cause any problems with the caps seating and doing their job and staying straight and true to the best of their ability. We'll set you up here on the tripod and you can watch me torque them down, and then we'll pull them off after I get done with that, and we'll see where they mic out at. Okay. Mains, 289 302, 60 to 70 foot-pounds. That's where we're shooting for. We're going to do them in 3 stages. I'm picking 35, 55, and 65. Or 35, 50, and 65. We'll break it up a little bit. Gotta be very careful to not move our plastic gauge, and definitely want to be careful. You don't want to smack these down, because that will definitely mess up your reading you want to do. So you're going to want to hand start all of these, and then use a small ratchet. Yeah, not necessarily small, but appropriate size ratchet. Run them down, so that way we get the best possible reading we can get. And the nice thing about these Fords, they are numbered 1 through 4. This 5 is kind of self-explanatory. Got an arrow Number 1, arrow pointing forward, front of the block. 2, arrow forward. 3, forward. And then the 5th one's not much. Hopefully, none of us can get wrong where that one should go. So carefully, making sure we don't mess this up. And make sure your bolts aren't slightly cross-threaded like that one appears to have been. It's definitely not starting properly. And I will say this is my first time using ARP bolt lubricant. Bought it many, many years ago. Never got around to using it for anything. Most people say on these older ones a dab of oil under the head and on the threads is probably plenty good. But you know what? Why not give it its best possible outcome? Some of these you can kind of tell when they're straight. Some of them, others not quite so easily. But it's kind of like anti-seize. It seems to get you everywhere. Try to keep your hands out of it and you'll end up with like 900 spots all over. I did wipe the surfaces on my caps again to make sure nothing got on them when I had them sitting on the bench. Try to sit them down as true as we can. Now, this is the thrust bearing for this type of block. It's built into the third bearing. And for checking the plastic gauge on these, I don't think I have to worry about centering it. It hopefully should be true, because it's pretty snug going down over that thing. So hopefully that won't skew it. Directions don't say anything about having to center it when you're plastic gauging it, but definitely at engine assembly time. Okay. Socket. Just gonna make sure as far as I can go by hand. Look at that. That one went down. You got at least one of them to drop down in the notches. And Craftsman. One I've had my whole life, never had any issues. And that's good. That one dropped down. That one dropped down. That's good. That one dropped down. That one dropped down. good. I thought it did drop down. It's good. Not quite there yet either. Okay. I think we're good now. Alright, onto our first torque setting. And for plastic gauge, I don't think there's any particular pattern you have to follow, but we'll start in the center and work our way out. Oh lordy. Keep this in a certain place to keep this thing from moving. We'll hop over. We'll make it 65. This is going to be fun. Yeah, I probably should have jumped back this way, but didn't quite do that. Like I said, for plastic gauge, I don't think it matters. I could be wrong. I am working off of a workshop manual, which was just good enough for them back in the day. Okay, that was 35. Now we're going to take it up to 50. It shouldn't do a whole lot, but gets us one step closer. Crazy to think some of these newer ones are torqued way more than what these old ones used to be. Of course, they're built at a lot better tolerances, so they say, nowadays than they used to be. This was good enough back in the day. And apparently it's still good enough for today. Now, unlock it, and then let's go to 60. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last round. And we can pull them off and see where we're at. One of the things they don't tell you about putting stuff together on an engine stand. Instructions tell you how to put it together and all that good stuff. They don't tell you that you have to have leverage or somebody helping hold, because when it's on wheels it moves so nice and easy, which is kind of the point, but when you're trying to torque something, it kind of defeats the purpose. Right now, this thing is working out really good. Believe it or not. I think we did this one already, right? Yep, we did. Let's jump over here. But, yeah, it's all about using your leverage. We're going toward where I'm holding on to back here works the best. Because if I was trying to pull it this way, I would put my hand here which that would work. Of course, it doesn't work very good down this way because the camera's in the way. That one I'd have to go away. That's going to be a lot harder to hold that way, so holding onto this, squeezing your arms together, gets them all, we're good. Just double check it. Should be golden. And hopefully that means ARP has done its job. Because they definitely are not moving anymore. If anybody's freaking out about my consistency on following the same pattern, I have never done a good job about following patterns. Especially if it's something I make up in my own mind. Okay. Now the torqued. I'm not going to show you the boring part of taking them all back off. That's kind of self-explanatory. So I'm going to zip these all back off here. We'll pull them and we'll check it against the little piece of gauge here on the inches side, not the millimeters, and we'll see if we're within specs. We'll be right back. Alrighty, we're back at it. We get these loosened up. Now we're going to finish taking them back off. We'll see where our plastic gauge is at. Now they do say you got to be careful how you take these off, because you don't want to mess up your reading. You really don't want to have to do it again. That would be excellent to not do this again. This is a little time consuming. You know, if he was building a performance engine or something like that, you really want to pay attention to what you're doing. Maybe just one time you want to do it the way it's supposed to be done. You know, that's fine. But, or this is kind of like a, let's just throw it back together and see if it's still alive. And it may run 10 miles and explode, who knows. Okay. Now, there are several different ways I've watched people do this. Some people grab these bolts and kind of just rock it back and forth and take it off. I don't think that's what you want to do. I've got this sand-filled dead blow of some sort. I think if I can just tap up on the sides of these, it should hopefully come out of there without too much trouble. And then we'll see what we got. There we go. Just kind of get it slightly broke free. Oh man, that one came all the way out. Well, that works. We'll take that one off. It's a little difficult with the camera in the way here. That's why it's kind of got a weird angle. Let's try not to smack my finger. There we go. And there we go. They're all loose. That hopefully should keep everything pretty straightforward. Oh, that was telling you number 5's not marked. Well, it's definitely not marked 5, but you know, the rear seal's gotta go in this, so like I said, it's kind of self-explanatory. I think we knew that's where that's got to go. Cool. 2. And number 1 with the thread still catching. Alrighty. Well, the results look like they came out pretty good. Let's see where we're at here. That one. Well, it's just about exactly 0.001. That one's 0.001. This one, well, that's not bad. 0.0015. And try to get around here without hitting the tripod. That one's close to 0.001. And it's a little wide right there. Might be a little tighter in that spot. But 0.001 undersized bearings look like it's going to work. We'll take you off here. Get you a little closer. Try not to make this thing pop and beep, and that way you don't have to hear all that stupid noise. Okay, so there we go. That one. They tell you try to look at the widest part of it, which it's a little tighter in there. But all the way out here, sorry, drifting. All the way out there, looks a little tight there, but maybe that's because I didn't center the bearing. Could be a reason. That thing right there. Sorry. Trying to get the shadow off there. Looks like all the way across pretty even. Like I said, that one's not squished quite as tight, but 0.015. That's not bad. And then the other two, same thing. That one looks a little tight, but maybe that's okay. And then same thing there. Man, these things are, certain ones are kind of hard to see. That one almost looks a little tight too, almost like a standard bearing might actually still be good for that one. May have to contemplate that. But, well, we're polished up, those all might good. I think we'll be okay to run with those. If I got tolerances, probably somewhere in here. That's pistons. That's where it was. 31. Let's go back. Crankshaft bearings. Desired 289. Well, we might be good. Oh, nope, that's connecting rods. There we go. Main bearings, 2 crankshaft, 0.0005 to 0.0015. So those ones that might be a little bit tighter than 0.001, according to that, that's doable. Number 1. So, yeah, I think we're good. Should be good. 289. Connecting rod bearings, main bearings. Desired and allowable. So, as long as that crankshaft holds up with the polishing job we did, I think our oil clearances are going to be fine on that. And that's where we're going to end it for the evening. Like I said, make sure you clean up your mating surfaces. Definitely clean up your bearings before you put them in. You know, I mean, it's really thin, but that could throw off some measurements if that actually ended up underneath one of these bearings and kind of changed how it's set in there. But people have told me my whole life, make sure it's clean. You know, I'm far from a clean room. I'm doing this in my own garage, so things are going to happen. But give yourself the best possible outcome. Make sure your groove in here is cleaned out. Maybe use some of the Scotch-Brite. Clean it up. Get all the gum out of there if there's anything, all the gunk. I even went through and hit these surfaces, and believe me, these sharp edges would just tear up that stuff, and got to go through 2 or 3 pieces. But give yourself the best possible outcome to get this thing to set down perfect. No interferences, no pieces of lint, rag, or anything else. And one thing I wanted to note that I forgot to in the last video, I didn't use my torque wrench to back the bolts off. Now, yes, I know they're reversible. You can do that, and I've seen people do that. But I was always taught by my dad and by the school that you never use your torque wrench to take the torque back off. But then I kind of asked the same question. I was just like, so then why do they only make it in one direction? Why wouldn't they just make it in forward only if you're not supposed to use it to reverse it? Why give you the option to reverse it? Well, Dodge could probably answer one of those questions. Back in the day, Dodge thought it was a brilliant idea to have left-handed threaded nuts, lug nuts, like wheels, on the left side of the car, and right-hand thread nuts on the right-hand side of the car. So if you need to torque a left-hand thread, that's the reason why it's reversible. For the weird or very probably not so common on American type vehicle-ish, at least I don't think on anything Ford, that you would, or older Ford, I won't say newer Ford, that you would have to torque in the opposite direction that most fasteners would. But just a little tidbit if it helps anybody out. We'll get back to it, continue on with the next step, cleaning, getting things ready, and see you on the next video.